What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Remote Front Office. Happy Labor Day to everybody. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We are still in the off season here, slowly working our way towards getting into preseason and eventually regular season, where we'll have more content and more live reactions. But today we are going to be ranking my top five League Pass teams. I do want to preface that this is not the best teams in the league. This is the teams that I think every night that you turn on League Pass, these are the teams that should automatically be prioritized in your list of teams to watch. Um, and the main things I'm thinking of is if I'm watching the same team over and over again, am I going to see something new? Am I going to see something consistent? Um, Obviously, teams like Miami in that case doesn't make it for me. The Clippers don't make it for me, just because it's guys that don't necessarily play a whole bunch of games. Whereas this is primarily focused on like younger teams, not necessarily contending teams, maybe teams I enjoy watching. But let's go ahead and get into it. So, the team at number five for me is going to be the Orlando Magic. Orlando, with just their intensity, their energy, Jalen Suggs picking people up full court. You've now added KCP in, so hopefully maybe that helps a little bit with the offense. I would say I watched a good amount of Orlando last year. It was just really hard to watch them on most offensive possessions, just because I feel like they're really struggling to be able to get into a true flow of an offense, right? Uh, but I think for the defensive reasons, the intensity, the energy, the fact these guys play games, all of that is why Orlando is at number five. Kind of the exact opposite of them is the Indiana Pacers at four. So the Pacers were one of the highest scoring teams, quote unquote, ever. Again, we're going to have that broken every year where, this team is the best offense we've ever seen. Da, 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 da. But I did like the Pacers. It was more so early on when Tyrese was healthy. Hopefully, we get more of a healthy season out of Halliburton. And then that, along with Pascal Siakam, may make this team even more enjoyable to watch. Just the pace they play at, the shooting, the spacing, just all of that put together, I think makes this team a team to watch on a night by night basis. Team number three, once this team gets better players, I can see them easily being higher on this list. And that is going to be the San Antonio Spurs. 90% of the reason I'm watching the Spurs on a night to night basis is for Victor Wembanyama, right? I watched a decent amount of Spurs games early on, but as we kind of saw the Jeremy Sohan experiment and different things like that, I started to watch them less and less, and kind of the Spurs became more of a Twitter team for me, or a TikTok team, right? Where I'm catching up on their stuff via clips and just kind of broken down segments, right? I think this team will be better this year with Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes. But I think that they are still a couple of pieces away. I will be watching them very early on because Stephon Castle was one of the guys I was higher on in this draft. So I will be watching for Castle, obviously, to see Wemby's growth since the Olympics. All of that put together is why the Spurs are at three. At number two, a team that just got decimated by injuries last year, the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies, it'll mainly be to see Ja come back, get back into the swing of things. I want to see how Zach Edey looks on this team. Does he play 30 minutes a game? Is he closer to 18 minutes a game? What's their rotation look like? They've got a lot of guys that are coming back from injury. How do these guys all fit together? Is there a bigger move for them to make to maybe catapult themselves into closer to a contender spot like we thought they were on the track of 2 years ago? Um, all of just those sort of things. And I think Memphis will be competitive throughout the year. That's the other thing I'm looking for is I want teams that I'm going to be able to watch the whole year, right? We know teams like Brooklyn and Toronto are going to fall off pretty early on. We know teams like Washington, again, they might tank out the back half of the year. So different stuff like that. I want teams that I can watch throughout the full year. The number one team here, it's going to be a team that was the best of the West last year, and it's going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. They added in Caruso. They added in Isaiah Hartenstein. They're relatively young, so their guys will play substantial minutes and play substantial amount of games. And I'm just really curious the rotations, right? Do we see more of a defensive-minded lineup where it's Caruso and Dort out there? Is Dort the starter, but Caruso's the closer? Just the different variations. Does Chet play more forward? Does he play more five? Do we see another leap for SGA? Like those sort of things, right? I think are kind of just where I'm looking at for that team, right? Um, Honorable mentions, obviously. I mean, especially a lot of the West, I think will be a lot of interesting teams. Again, for League Pass, I'm looking for younger teams. I'm not necessarily going to be looking at the Clippers. I'm not going to be looking at like Phoenix. Those teams I will save for more of when they have national games, because I just think that those are A, stars are more likely to play in nationally televised games, and B, it's just you kind of, after like the first month or so, you kind of know what those teams already are, right? Um, but all in all, I would say that this season, I am really excited to see just some of these younger teams. My first week or two of the season, I will still have on Charlotte as long as LaMelo's healthy. Once LaMelo goes out, that team was in consideration for this, but I feel like it relies too much on LaMelo being healthy, and he just hasn't had a great bill of health so far in his career. Um, Other teams I considered for this, I did consider a team like Minnesota. Minnesota brings it every night. Their guys are relatively healthy. They bring it on both ends of the court. You want to see Anthony Edwards take another leap. Team like Houston, again, with just the job that their coaching staff has done in order to get them to buy in defensively, and have all these young guys and still have them understand their roles, have them understand that they are here to win games. They're not here to secure the biggest contract. They're here to buy in as a team and actually win games. Utah will probably be a fairly good team to watch at the beginning of the year. My only concern is with the Lowry extension guaranteeing him through this year, do they still look to trade guys like Jordan Clarkson, John Collins, those sort of guys, right? Portland, I'm curious what Portland is, right? Because Portland, I think we can all at least see on paper how Portland is the worst team in the West, right? Just with the inexperience at guard, the congestion at the big, there's just so many different things, right? So I think they might be the biggest seller at the trade deadline, right? If a team's trying to compete and needs a wing or a center, you can get like Robert Williams for 13 mil a year. Ayton on the bigger end of it is 30 something mil. With Portland though, I am curious: does DeAndre Ayton end up playing more power forward? Is he still a full time center? What does that mean for Clingan when he gets minutes? Just all that stuff right there makes Portland kind of interesting. But other than that, obviously, I will try and focus on as many teams as possible to start the year. And then as we get into it, obviously, I will kind of narrow it down further and further. Unfortunately, the Bulls will be on my watch list because I'm a Bulls fan, so they will be on ATV somewhere. But all in all, I still have to figure out kind of the rest of what the priority goes for watching teams. But that is going to be it today. A little bit shorter of a video for the holiday. Again, it's the off season, kind of trying to figure out things as we go here. Once we get into preseason, I'll react more. You guys will get a Bulls rain at some point pretty early on in the preseason, depending on how they look. And then we'll kind of go from there. And we'll get back to the regularly scheduled content of probably twice a week. I don't think we'll go more than twice a week in season. Unless something really big happens, then we'll go 3 times a week. It's just really hard to be consistent for 3 times a week. So appreciate you guys coming through. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.